Guys, I'm glad you're here with me tonight. Genosco Ministries is just something that I have launched here recently, and what that has to do, that is the Greek word for to know God, to know them, to know Him experientially. Well, to know them experientially, to experience God, and to know Him. And so that's what this is about. But tonight, I just want to hit something real quickly. I had a conversation yesterday with a good friend of mine named Chris Gibson. And Chris Gibson was talking with a guy that he knows real closely. And they were talking about the nature of God. And they were talking about a wrathful God versus a loving God. And his friend said this right here. His friend said, well, can't God be both? Can't He both be wrathful and loving? And my friend Chris was like, well, no, one's against His character, one's against His nature. And my friend Chris said that would be like God having a friend that you said is loving, but every time you see him, he punches you in the face. And so that would be that kind of analogy. But that really got me to thinking about something which is very interesting. The very first thing is we cannot separate anything from judgment, wrath, to hell, to anything. We cannot pull that apart from God. What we do when we do that is we basically start believing that there is some kind of life source that can keep that thing going, that can basically produce its life, that is apart from God. And then you start dealing with kind of dualism types ideas. So listen, everything from hell to judgment to wrath to everything is inside of God. And we know that God is love. So therefore we cannot pull anything from His judgment, His wrath, to hell, to anything. We cannot separate those from His love. When we do, we have separated them from God Himself. So we can't do that. So all of our theology has to be inside the realm of God, and it has to be inside the realm of love. And I believe that Paul in 1 Corinthians 13 lays out a pretty good definition of what love is. And so anyways, that's the very first thing I wanted to say tonight. The second thing is this right here. Is when my friend Chris said that about, if I had a friend and every time he saw me, he punched me in the face, he goes, that's not very loving. And as soon as he said that, I said, yeah, but here's what somebody who can twist that up, they would say, well, that is love. They could come up with some crazy ideas in their mind saying, well, if He is love and He's punching me in the face, then that must be love. And so I see this all the time inside crazy, whacked, messed up theology and ideas about God, that all of a sudden these like sicknesses or poverty or all this now becomes the love of God. And the reason that is because we've got messed up ideas, because what we do is we formulate ideas about God that are outside the character and nature of Christ. And so what happens is, to try to reconcile Jesus and the Old Testament and reconcile that stuff, we'll come up with some crazy ideology and some crazy theology that we come up with, that now all of a sudden God gave me this sickness to teach me a lesson, and that's really His love. Or I lost a child and God was just trying to show me something about Himself. Blah, 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 blah. You hear all this crazy stuff all the time. And what's interesting is you see this in natural world too. You'll see women who are in abusive relationships where the husband or the boyfriend or whatever is hitting them and treating them bad, verbally abusive, physically abusive, and then those women in return will say, well, that's just how he loves me. What has happened is they have got a messed up idea of what love is. And so what happens is in their messed up consciousness, what happens is they twist that around and think, well, this must be love. Well, that's what we do with God, because you have all this stuff from, well, God's sovereign, He's in control of all this stuff. Well, if He's in control, then He must be putting this on me to test me, and if He just tests me because He loves me, and all this stuff. And listen, that is not who God is. This is what we have to understand. Does God discipline his children? Absolutely, he disciplines his children, but he does not punish his children. Because, see, where the love of God is, it casts out all fear, because fear has to do with punishment. Discipline something totally different. Discipline, the very root word of that is disciple, which means to lead the way. And listen, he leads us in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Listen, that is the type of thing that God does for us. God is not striking you with sickness to teach you a lesson or to punish you. God does not punish his children. He disciplines them by discipling them, and he leads the way, and he does that with love, and he does that with patience, and he does that with soft hands, and that's how God deals with his kids. And so we've got to get out of this mindset that God's punishing us. Or I actually seen a deal the other day where this fundamentalist guy had said something to the fact that he quoted Amos, that the prophet Amos had said something to the fact that God had killed these kids because, and yet you still won't turn. And his deal was that maybe is a good reason for some of the suffering we go through. Listen, God is not killing our kids. Crazy theology like that drives me nuts. God's not killing our kids. God is the author and source of life. And everything he does is inside the realm of God. And what we see in Jesus is our perfect hermeneutic. That is our perfect theology. Hey guys, you be blessed. Check out Genosco Ministry. I'll be posting a lot of stuff on there. So hey, you guys be blessed. Love you.